Hey y'all, N4HNH here live. Comment if you can see this and hear this. We had a flare a little bit ago. It got to X7.1. You'll notice right now up here in the top right, it's down to X3.8. I wanted to show you a little learning opportunity here. So those flares on the sunny side of the earth, they can affect radio communications. And let me see if anybody's in there yet. Don't see anybody. If you're in the chat, let me know. Just post something and tell me that this is going out, because this is a good learning experience. Yeah, okay, good. So, hey, James, thank you for letting me know this is going out. Maybe I'll wait a couple of minutes. And CW, hey, James. Oh, yeah, you guys are all showing up now. There we go. Dax, Peculiar People, Leo, Ben. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get into this because the video will be available for others later. Hey, Don. Oh, yeah, look, it just dropped to X1.6, so it's trending back down now. And so if you know about these flares, X is the worst class. Now, this is a fairly low intensity right now. It was at an X7.1 earlier when I was getting everything set up. So it affects the sunny side of the earth. M class can cause some disruptions in our HF activity for about an hour plus or minus. X can get worse, and if you want to learn more about X, look up something, Google the Carrington event. The Carrington event. Hello, Donnie. It happened in the 1800s, and of course, back then we didn't have radio, but it even knocked out the telegraph. So X can get pretty bad. It can get bad enough that it can affect power grids, medical equipment. Now, I'm listening to 10 meters right now. And so you're thinking, wait a minute, X-class flare, that's worse than an M. How is 10 meters working? I want to show you something on the ham clock that'll give you a clue as to why I'm hearing this guy. Let me show you where he's on 28,470. So 10 meter band's working, but look, I'm still in the sunlight here. I'm that orange dot right there. Southern United States, southeastern. But notice this area here. Well, there's finally a spot. A guy here, but notice this area here. Now I'm going to switch my map on ham clock over from terrain to the DRAP. Okay, that's what that's going to show us is where signals are being absorbed by the D layer. So let the map regenerate, and look at that big blob right there. Now, if you look down at what I call the decoder ring, but down here across the bottom, you'll see the colors. Okay, so darker colors are down lower frequencies in the HF spectrum. And it's pretty standard here with ham clock that the color codes are the same. So for example, up here around 30 megahertz, it goes from yellow to orange and dark orange. But look right here at 20. Right here, there's a 20. That's around the 15 meter band. And so you look up here at the color, and really, it's even getting into a little bit of a greenish yellow here. So that would get us up, closer to even the 12 meter band. So those areas there, and notice too, that's the sunny side of the earth. Look at this. Here's where it's dark. See, notice all those spots from the DX cluster. So that's clearly working. But it's scarce over here where you see this. Let me move back over that way. It's scarce over here where you see the big blob. Now it's down to X1.6 now, so it's going to settle in a little bit. And once it gets down into this, you got M, then you got C, B, and A. We like to see A, B's okay, C's okay. We don't like to see M, and we don't like to see, of course, X. Hey James, how you doing there? You got Russia from your mobile today? That's cool. That's awesome. And hey Mark and Lee. Good to have you on here. Telegraphs worked when the batteries were disconnected during the Carrington event. Now, I had not read that. That's very interesting, Lee. So you know about the Carrington event. Hello, Enrique. You're in YV land. Any danger for our radios if on the air during the flares? No, not really. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say you got to put them in lead or a box or anything like that, but it's just going to mean that your communications is going to be hampered. But I mean, if you want to be on the safe side, maybe, you know, unplug the antenna, but I think your radio will be fine. But yeah, so the big blob there is kind of the tell-all. Now, I'm going to tune over to 15 meters and let's see if we hear anything. This is Yaesu FTDX10, but you're looking at the monitor. So here we go, 15 meters. And you can look at the scope. I'll increase the sensitivity. Oop, cut the grass a little bit there. I mean, look, it's just, oh, there was. That's probably a beacon. It sounds more like heterodyne from something maybe local. And that was above the ham band anyway. You notice I was above 450. Yeah, it's pretty dead. So there's another usefulness. Let me tune back over here, scan back over here, of the ham clock, you know, giving us an idea here of where that flare is affecting. And let me switch back over to the terrain map for a second and illustrate this. Okay, there we go. Now you'll see what I'm getting at. That's the sunny side of the earth. In fact, right there is the sun. See my little mouse pointer there? There's the moon, by the way. There's the moon. And there's the sun. And so you can see there that the big blob is on the sunny side of the earth. And these flares affect our communications because of being on the sunny side of the earth. Hey, Wendell. Good to have you in there. So now, like I said, it's already dropped to an X1.6 right now. And there's a little bit of a delay in that reporting. So it may be lower than that even right now. But it's not too big of a delay. But if you're wondering, well, wait a minute, I heard that the flares make us not be able to talk. Well, it affects the sunny side of the earth. Now, I did, back during the month of November of 2023, there were a bunch of de-expeditions. And I was in there one night trying to work them, and we had an M-class flare, and they were gone. Now, it doesn't mean that they couldn't transmit. It just meant that they were on the sunny side of the earth, and they wouldn't be able to hear me. So it kind of quieted down for about an hour, and then it came back. So this is not an end of the world moment. I wouldn't, you know, that X scale, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that the X scale can go off way beyond 9 and 10, like there's no limit on the X scale. That ham clock doesn't look like it would let it go above X9.9 just based on how many digits there are. And like I said earlier, what I saw was a 7.1. But the way those scales are, A goes up to 9.9, then B goes up to 9.9, then C goes to 9.9, M goes to 9.9. But I was reading some data about the X class, and apparently there's nothing beyond X class. So they just figured that X class could go, hey, Joel. So they just figured that X class could go infinity or whatever, you know, infinity and beyond, right? So the scale is logarithmic. There you go. Yep, James. So, you know, again, what you're seeing here, it's affecting the sunny side of the earth. I was still able to hear a guy in South America a while ago, but, you know, on 10 meters. But the biggest effect was, and again, it was also affecting certain frequencies. Let me switch back over so in case you tuned in late here. I'm going to switch over from the terrain map to the D layer absorption here. DRAP, D region absorption is what it is. And let it regenerate. And look for the blob. There's the sun, see right there, and there's the blob. And again, the dark spot represents position of the moon. But that big blob there, the color of that blob is telling me that it's mostly affecting, absorbing that is, in the 20 megahertz plus or minus range. Now you see a little blue in here too. That's absorption down around 40 meters, But we're okay over here in the U.S. right now. You see 40 meters is a little bit hampered here toward the west, but I'm in the east where the orange dot is. And so, we're good here. I heard some people on 40 meters earlier. But I will say earlier when I was listening to a QSO on 40 meters, and the guys all of a sudden started fading out on one another, and they noticed it too. And that was when that flare was peaking. So it even had some effect on 40 meters apparently here in the southeast. But I just wanted you guys to see this live while it was happening. So thanks for joining in. Any questions? I'm looking in the chat right now. Glad to have Wendell join us. Wendell is with the Hurricane WatchNet, and he worked really hard last week with Hurricane Helene, him and his team. Similar to an earthquake, anything above X is awful. Yeah, that's a good point there. And hello, Luke. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, I just wanted you guys, I'm not going to lengthen this much unless there's some questions or whatever, but I just wanted you guys to see any LY contacts. Oh, yeah, and I'm sure you are tired, Wendell, from that Hurricane Helene. And man, I mean, everybody, the people in North Carolina are just suffering so bad from that. You were just on 40 calling CQ, a few strong signals there, Mike. Okay, yeah. Where are you located, Mike? Put that in the chat there. Like I said, I heard some really strong signals on 40 a little bit earlier, and in the Bronx. Okay, yeah, and I think you probably are good right now up there, and plus it's getting dark, so that's going to help us. This big blob there is on the sunny side of the earth. If you look at that, it's almost, the sun is almost centered of it. I mean, it is practically in the center of the big blob, and the color of the big blob is letting us know that the 15-meter band, up and down a little bit from the 15-meter band, is primarily affected. As a matter of fact, I tuned around on 20 meters a little bit ago, and everything was okay. Has anybody's ham clock connection been dropping out today? Good point. I'm glad you said that, Wendell. So Vince and I, my friend Vince, N4CME, we were actually working around with the ham clock this afternoon, and we kept having freeze-ups and sluggishness. Sometimes... like VoaCat went away once, POTA went away. It said no data. I think that they must be working on the ham clock server. That's just my guess. Oh, look, it's down to M8.9 now. So the effect of the flare is beginning to diminish. It'd be interesting if we were to sit here long enough to watch that blob go away. I mean, I don't think everybody wants to sit here that long, but that thing should drop into the C range, and maybe we'll begin to see that blob disappear. But there you go, a real good visual example. The ham clock is such a valuable tool, so many features. I'm still learning about it myself. You guys that subscribe know I'll put out a video when I learn something new or if there's an update. But I think that the value of the ham clock is just probably not even fully realized by most people in the ham community. They do have some bugs here and there, but it's a labor of love. The guy that creates it, I won't give you his name, but he has worked with the professional telescopes, I think since the 70s, working with software, supporting those telescopes that look out into outer space. And so he's a genius. And he's a ham operator, and so this is one of his passions, is the ham clock. And this one here is the Innovato version, which I bought for like $60, and it works really well. Now, believe it or not, right now the actual Innovato unit is over behind me, and I've got the monitor I normally plug into it tied up doing something else. This is my PC monitor. But you can actually, because the Innovator unit is using my Wi-Fi, I can go directly to it with a URL and view it on another monitor. So that's what I'm doing here. They give you some instructions on how to do that. It's like right now I'm looking at innovato.local:8081/live.html. Let me zoom in on that and let you see it. So even though the Innovator unit's over there hooked up was hooked up to another monitor. Like I said, I unhooked it and I'm using it. But if you look right there, top middle of the screen, you'll see all you do is open your web browser and you put in innovato.local:8081/live.html. And then you can actually use your web browser to look at your ham clock from your phone. I've got it set up to do it on my phone from another computer here. This is just my other computer that I use for ham and logging and things like that. All right. So yeah, Wendell, Vince and I did notice some issues today with it being sluggish and sometimes non-responsive. I'm just totally guessing that maybe the developer is doing something with the server and that was causing some bogging down. But yeah, anyway, any other questions before we go? Just wanted you guys to get to see that. And I think it should be available as a replay for others who may have not got in here on the live feed. All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you to you guys who are Patreon members. I know who you are. You know who you are because you make this channel stay up and running, and I do appreciate that very, very much. Take care, guys. 73 from N4HNH. Oh, and Roy, I saw you there right before I was about to turn it off. And, oh, do I have a fan on mine? I see that question. Yeah, no, I don't have the fan on mine. It came with it. I mean, I ordered the optional fan. I've never run it. Mine's, I feel it, and it stays cool as a cucumber. But I hear of other people who say they have no choice but run the fan. So I find that a little bit interesting. Hey, Luciano, good to see you in there. But no, to answer your question there, Rick, I don't run the fan. I don't even know if I ever hooked it up. But this is, by the way, just to qualify that, I'm in a relatively cool basement. So it doesn't really get real hot down here. And maybe that's part of what helps it. But no, I don't run the fan with it. Man, it's still hanging at M8.9 up there. And by the way, let me just mention this. I find the space weather to be a very valuable pane in this unit. And, you know, when it comes out of the box, it's set up for this one here. Let me change it over and let you see this. So that is showing the beacons and their frequencies, and it shows little colored markers around the globe where the beacons are. And I don't care where the beacons are. I find it more, and the beacons are being used, you know, for some of the propagation predictions. I find it more useful to use space weather. And one of the things that they've changed in the newest version, I'm running 4.08. Now, you know, anytime you see your version number turn red, there's an update. And its version number is right here, right above the UTC thing. And I think it rolled out with 4.06, 7 or 8. There was a fix to a bug fix to a bug fix there. There were like 3 versions came out real quick in quick succession. But one of the new features is this. Yeah, it is a feature. Is you no longer control what you see in the space weather. The software does. So you could go in there and pick from various other, you could see the KP index here. You could see, for example, the BZ number, which you want to go positive. You don't want to see negative. That's having to do with the Earth's interplanetary magnetic field. All those numbers mean things that are good or bad for propagation. What they did in this version is they are putting the data in there for you, and they're picking it based on which numbers are making the most difference right now for the propagation. So you can see that number 1 is the X-ray. That's that flare. And it was X, now it's an M8.9. So they're putting that in there for us. They're choosing it. You know, at first I'm like, wait a minute, I don't like that I don't get to choose what I'm seeing there. I liked when I could actually stack them in there and see the ones I wanted to see. Solar flux index, I wanted to see that one. You know, when that's above 100, that's good. It's 200, it's great. Sunspot number, I get that over here. The VOA cap, right at the bottom of the VOA cap here you can set this, you know, I watch my videos about the VOA cap, but you can set it for 100 watts, whatever mode you typically operate, takeoff angle, short path. That just means if I click on a call sign in the DX cluster, it'll draw a line that shows the short path to that station So then from that information, you can know where to aim your beam. You see that line pop up there? And that station, there's a green dot here where he is. Where you can't see it now. It got covered up by a call sign. But then the last one here, S equals 196. That's the sunspot number. So, okay, I could do without having the sunspot number over here since I can glance over there under my VOACAP screen. But I thought it was cool to have the solar flux index, BZ, planetary K, X-ray over in that screen. Well, so I have no control over that anymore, but the reason is they're actually taking that screen over and showing you the information that is making the biggest difference in the propagation right now. And you'll see, like, look, there's DRAP. And that's the D region absorption, and that's that big blob over there. Does it look to you like the blue is getting a little bit bigger and the green is shrinking a little? And it should, as that X-ray value drops. Let me see. Let me look at the screen here. It came with it, so I didn't want to take a chance in getting hot. Well, hey, you know what? That's not a bad idea. If you don't mind putting the fan on it, do it. I live dangerously sometimes, y'all, so I can break stuff and tell you what to avoid, right? Hey, Chuck. So you changed mine over to that. I have a beacons on that. Yeah. That space weather is so much more useful information. And so the KP was actually in there earlier today. It was. But see, right now that's not the one of the top four, I guess, most important values to be looking at. Yeah, the planetary K, you want that number to be nearer to 0. If it's up around 2, that's still okay. You don't want it to get much above 5. And like with the BZ, that interplanetary magnetic field, you want to see that thing 2 or higher. 2's okay. 20 would be awesome. If you start seeing it get down to, minus 2 or less is not great, but you start seeing minus 10, minus 12, minus 17, you're heading in the direction of possibly having aurora activity, which is beautiful but bad for HF. So that's the value of this. And, of course, you can assign some of these other screens. I'll give you guys a bonus since some of you joined in late, and I want to give you some stuff to look at here. I'm changing this from SOTA to Aurora BZ. I'll go ahead and do planetary K. And, well, solar flux is over here. I don't need that one. I'll do solar wind. Now, solar wind was in there earlier, too. That's another indicator. I saw it in there earlier, and that was kind of a little bit of a clue that we might be headed for some problems. And I'll go ahead and let the sunspot number show up in there too. And I'll hit OK. Now, right now, we're looking at the sunspot number in that pane. In 30 seconds, I think that's what I have it set for. It's in the menu. You can set how often it changes. It will switch over to one of the other ones. So hang with me and we'll talk about what we see here. And let's see. Oh, hello there, Stargazer. Yeah, just be patient and that'll switch over. Now, what you're getting here more than just a number. See, sunspot number's right here, the 196. We're seeing it here, but you're also seeing the trend. Now we're looking at solar wind, 0.2, 0.2. But look at this spike right here. Look at that. See? So these were all things that were, kind of leading up to what happened. Now let's see what's coming up next. I don't know what order they're going to be. I don't know. I can't remember what order I picked them. What they're stacked as. I think it just decides based on what order you click them in, or what order they're in the list. There we go. There's the BZ. See, 1.2. All right, we'd like to see that at 2 or better, but 1.2 is better than minus 17. All right, and you can look at the trend there. See, you don't want to see these negatives here. Looks like down around -5. There was close to -6. Those aren't terrible numbers, but you'd really like to see that in the positive direction. Flare peak is over. Yeah, the peak, I saw a 7.1. We'll see what it was, maybe what NASA says it was later. Oh, or aurora chance. That's what I wanted you to see, 13%. Now, if you see the BZ going down to -17, -18, -19, you're probably going to see the aurora chance number go up. And remember when we had the aurora some months ago? That went to 100. I was watching it. And so now there's planetary K 1.7. 1.7, that's okay. I like to see things like 0.7, 0.9, but 1.7 is okay. 2 is okay. We just don't want to see, when it starts trending up into 5 and higher, that can work against you. And so what you might see is you might say, well, look, the solar flux index is 214 and the sunspot number is 196. And by the way, just if you're curious, that doesn't mean that's the exact number of sunspots. They're actually clusters of sunspots. Well, you look up there and you go, wow, these numbers look great. How come I don't hear people? Oh, wait a minute. You got an M-class solar flare, you see? And a D region absorption here in the 21 range, and it's dropping. So that's why sometimes you look at certain numbers and you go, well, it should be working great, but then other numbers are working against it. Let's take a look at the MUF map, the maximum usable frequency map. Switching it over there. By the way, you can select multiple maps and it'll even rotate the maps like it's doing that display up there right now. Maximum usable frequency. All right, look, all that orange, that's 10 meters. It was even better than that earlier. It was great. And the decoder ring down here at the bottom, again, there's 20 megahertz, and that's where we saw the disruption. Down here, lower frequencies, there's 5, 10 megahertz. They're going to be in blue. A lighter shade of blue is going to be, that's going to be 20 meters, and it'll work its way down to almost purple, which is the low end of HF. Then it works its way up, the greenish, yellowish, that's your 15 meter, 12 meter bands. Then you get up close when you get up around 30-ish, just below the 10, just below that, you got the 10 meter band. And that's what we're seeing, all that orange. And that's practically 10 meters. It's a little bit higher than that, but that's how that color breaks down. Now you'll notice I wouldn't be able to talk to anybody on 10 meters right here within the eastern U.S., but I would be able to get somebody up into this area, these portions of Canada, out here in the ocean, South America, except for the middle down here. So that's your maximum usable frequency map, and it's got a decoder ring at the bottom, which helps. I usually, if you're wondering where I usually leave mine, I usually leave it on terrain because I think it looks cool. Is aurora chance for DE? Well, it's just I think what you mean by your location. The aurora chance is just based on the chance that there could be an aurora, like up there in the Northern Lights, but it can disrupt our communications. Let's see. There is no one on that part of the Canada. Yeah, you're right. Probably not anybody up there. That's a good point there. Very good point. And you should know, VA3 HDL. Yeah, you should know. It's pretty wild. But there you go. That's the map I just generally leave it on. You can see clearly here where it's dark. And, of course, there's the sun over there. So we see, that sunny side of the earth is where it was being affected. Let's go back and take a look at that DRAP map and just see if there's been much of a change to it. It does appear to me that it's diminishing as we see the M over here, the M class flare now. It was an X class flare, but it's diminishing. The effect is down to M6.2. So I think that I think we're good now. And by the way, let me just clarify, that DRAP is not something that you only want to look at when you've got a flare. That's not what it's about. It's D-layer absorption. So for example, during the daylight hours, 40 meters doesn't give you a lot of range because the signals tend to get absorbed, the 7 megahertz signals. Now, you can work people on 40 meters in the daylight, but you guys know this, right? That your range is not going to be around the world. It's going to be more regional. And because it's being absorbed by the D region, which is the lowest part of the ionosphere. Now, one of the things that people can do to get a good signal like, let's just say you want to talk to your friends within 400 or 500 miles. Well, believe it or not, it's not a bad thing to have your antenna for 40 meters not so high off the ground, because that's going to give you a higher takeoff angle, and it will penetrate that D region a little bit better and give you a little more range. Yeah. So, my ZS6BKW, when I first put it up, I couldn't get it higher than 32 feet. But it gave me really good, it still gave me good performance. And then at night, when the band goes long, because the D region's not absorbing anymore, and the E regions, they usually are dissolved by then too. So you're up into the F region, very high up in the ionosphere. So even at night with my antenna 32 feet in the air, I worked Europe easily, no problem. Even did it on 80 meters. So it's not the end of the world if you can't get your antennas up 70 feet. Trust me, I've never had an antenna at 70 feet in the air. The highest one is up 55 feet probably. But that D region in the daytime, that's the reason your 40-meter signal is not going to get to Europe. It's absorbing it. And the higher takeoff angle, meaning your antenna is a little lower to the ground, I'm just talking in generality here, but you get a little higher takeoff angle and you can punch it a little better. As you think about it, if your antenna is higher up off the ground, you got a low takeoff angle, it's a glancing blow to the D region. So you don't get that far. So yeah, a little bonus in there. You have that antenna, the ZS6BKW, is that what you're talking about, Rick? It's a great antenna. I like mine. Wendell's got one. Bunch of guys I know have one. Yeah, it's a great antenna. Yeah, see, you do have that. Great performer. You can work all the bands if you have a wide range antenna tuner. You got a G5RV Junior. Well, my friend Joel has one of those up at his cabin. And now his cabin is 1,900 feet in the air, and that helps, and he's overlooking a lake. But with 100 watts, we break every pile up we try to up there. It's amazing. And by the way, he's even worked 160 meters with his G5RV Junior. He's just got an antenna tuner that, hey, PY3TX, he's got an antenna tuner that can make that thing look good to the radio, at least on any band. Now, just because the tuner can tune it doesn't mean that you're going to radiate very well. But we have had QSOs. He's about 65 miles probably by the air away from me when he's at his cabin. We've had QSOs on 160 meters and him running a G5RV Junior. But yeah, clearly the ZS6BKW is the best of the bunch if you can, if you got the space to put that one up. And they're usually very reasonably priced unless you want to build one yourself. And yeah, they do. It's unbelievable what you can do. I've never had a beam. I've been doing this 43 years. I've never had a beam. I've always worked with wire antennas. Some I made, some I bought. I do have one vertical that I bought. That's the Cushcraft R5, and that thing is never given me a problem. It's in its second QTH now. I bought it in the mid-90s, so no complaints there. All right, well, any other questions before we wrap up? Just want you guys to get some real time here, Your beam died on the weekend. Oh, did you get hit by, that was VA3, that's up in Canada. Did you get hit by some of that weather make it it's way up there? I got ham friends in North Carolina, by the way. They won't have power for a month. One of the guys was telling me that he does have gas and a generator. He's got cooking gas and he's got a generator and a gas stove. Well, hey, David, thanks for joining in. Man, appreciate you. You always come through for me there. Thank you for the $10 there. I mean, that's, I appreciate that, man. You're an inspiration. You're one of those that keeps me going. Yeah, so, just lost my train of thought there. Saw my friend David jump in. And David's one of the movers and shakers that helps keep my channel up and going, y'all. And he's been doing it for a long, long time. People like him, Joel, Wendell, just some great guys. There's probably some in there that I missed in the list because I'm looking on a phone screen, y'all, so bear with me. It's just, okay, so your antenna is acting like it's disconnected. Oh, man, maybe it's a connector issue. Yeah, but my friend Dean, that's what I was telling you about. He's got some propane. He can cook for a while with a gas stove. He's worried about running out of water and fuel, though, like fuel for his generator. But he did not his house is not badly damaged, just minimal. So he was one of the fortunate ones in that respect, because I've seen some photos of houses that are completely missing, a whole row of houses gone. All you see is driveways. So they really got devastated by that storm. And again, thank you so much to the Hurricane WatchNet for giving people a heads up. The storm was, by the way, headed directly at me. And I stayed up till 4:30 tracking it and listening to the Hurricane WatchNet. And at 2 o'clock, it started bearing east away from us. However, it still got some pretty bad winds and rain at my daughter's house, my brother's house. He's a ham. He's also with the Hurricane WatchNet, W4KWM. And so they got a lot of the brunt of it over that way. But of course, North Carolina just got hammered. It was really, really bad. But, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I just wanted to give you a little insight into some real-time action here on the ham clock. I do appreciate you tuning in, and I appreciate those of you who contribute to help me continue to justify the time and expense to bring you these videos. It is greatly appreciated. And, for those of you who can't afford to help out, hey, just like me, thank the guys who can and do help out to keep me going here and be able to bring you these videos. Ham Radio Guy, let's see, I told you before that I bought an ATAS 120A based on your recommendation. It's up and running and I love it. Yeah, I mean, thank you, Stargazer. Yeah, if you guys watched I think I did 5 videos about the ATAS. I'm a ham stick guy. I had them for over 20 years. And I didn't even trust it enough to take the ham stick off the truck. I had an antenna switch. I was switching back and forth. And I kept noticing that I wasn't expecting much out of the ATAS 120A for 40 meters. Because, I mean, that's a little stubby thing for 40 meters, right? And, yeah, hey, Luciano. I sure am glad you were able to join us. I know it's late over there. But I kept noticing that it was competing with, I mean, the higher frequencies, no problem. But I also kept noticing that the ATAS was competing with the 40-meter ham stick. And that's 7 feet of antenna up on the top of the truck. I mean, in the middle of my truck. And if you saw my ATAS videos, I mounted the ATAS 120 down on the left side of the truck, by the hood. And yeah, it kept competing with the 40-meter ham stick. And in fact, toward the rear of my vehicle, especially right rear, it was actually beating the ham stick. And the reason for that is because it's, you have a skewed pattern when the antenna's not up in the middle of the vehicle. So I had a little more signal going out the right rear. So I said, you know what, enough of this. And I actually took the ham stick off, took the antenna switch out, and I'm just using the ham stick now. Is it the greatest HF antenna for mobile there ever is? No. But boy, I love the convenience of being able to just tap the tune button, change to another frequency, tap the tune button, give it a second or so to tune, and then I'm ready to go again. That's just incredible. So I'm glad you're enjoying it as well. All right, guys. Well, if there's no other question or comment, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and it should be available for others. You love my FTDX10 and FTM500 material. Yeah, I got some more FTM500 stuff coming. Actually, some more FTDX10 as well. You relied on my opinions. Well, and again, guys, let me just make sure everybody knows this while I'm live. I don't work for Yaesu. We're not even on the best of terms. I just happened to have Yaesu radios when I started the channel, and my main objective is to teach operating techniques because I saw people trading radios for radios that weren't as good as the one they already had. So I knew that they just were not maximizing the full functionality of the radio they already had. And that just pained me to see that. Whatever radio you get, are some better than others? Absolutely. But whatever radio you get, learn that thing. Learn it inside out. And those of you who are Patreon team members at the S7 or S9 level, you have access to my glossary of amateur radio terminology and common radio controls. Now, I cover a lot of the basic concepts of ham radio, things that you'll see on tests. And then I cover the cues, the cue signals, and all how they mean. And then I cover the basic knobs, buttons, menus on most modern radios today, not just particular to a Yaesu. And the reason I want to put that together is because I want people to know that no matter what radio you've got, maximize what you get out of it. Yeah, I mean, Kenwood's great radio. I see your comment there, ham radio guy. We have great radios from, especially, in my opinion, the big three out there right now. You know, ICOM, Kenwood, Yaesu, Elecraft, big fan of Elecraft. Can't afford Elecraft, but big fan of them. You know, but as far as Yaesu, I just happen to get Yaesus when they're on sale, and they have the best radio for the money. And right now, if you go by Rob Sherwood, they got the top 3 best receivers in the world. And that third radio you can buy on sale for under $1,000. That's just unbelievable. And oh, hey, Robert from the UK. Great to have you aboard, too. So you used to be a Kenwood guy there, ham radio guy, and now you have the FTDX 101D, the 10, the 891, the 400, and the FT2DR. Yeah. Well, y'all, look at the blob. Before we go, look at the blob. See what I mean? It's diminishing. And let me show you up here on the X-ray scale, it's down to M3.8. So that's going to go away eventually. But, man, isn't it great to be able to see all that in real time? That's what I wanted y'all to be able to experience. And rather than me filming and shooting a video, I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to do this live and let people interact? So, yeah, Jim, thanks a lot for joining in. And I'm glad you like it. I hope, like I said, I hope everybody found this helpful. The solar wind's down to 0. So everything's returning to normal. Well, hey, guys, thanks a lot. I think I heard the dinner bell, and it's 7:38 in the east, so we're eating a little late. Had a lot of work to do this afternoon, day job stuff related to, and so got to get up there and see my wife and let her know that I do still exist. So thanks a lot for joining in, and again, let me just say the biggest thank you in the world to those of you who help. Yeah, I try to stream every now and then, Rick. A huge thank you to those of you who help me keep the channel running without having to do an alignment or a partnership with any of the manufacturers, because they don't want you to say negative stuff. They don't want you to show anything that's not wonderful on their radio or their antenna or their microphone or whatever the case is. And as long as you guys that support me through the Patreon program or clicking the thanks, super thanks and all that, like David did earlier, the heart thing below this video, as long as I get enough support from all that sort of thing, I can remain free of all of that, and I can tell you guys the straight scoop. I don't want you to spend money unnecessarily, okay? That's my main mission. Don't trade a really good radio for something that might look like on the surface that it's going to be better, and maybe it's not. All right, so with that, I'm going to say 73, guys. Thanks a lot for jumping in and joining with this live cast. Oh, and look, M2.4 as we go away.